Creative Life Survival Guide, where I share survival tips on creativity, productivity, and balancing a creative life. I'm your host, Laura. Hey creatives, welcome into another episode of the Creative Life Survival Guide. I just wanted to kind of check in on you guys and see how you're doing. I mean, life for me has kind of been hectic lately, and I've actually found that, I try to focus my blog specifically on creativity and productivity, but I've really been struggling to keep up with some of my, personal projects and my writing, my professional life, my personal life. And it just kind of feels as if, some things are kind of falling through the cracks. So, a lot of times it is the attention that is struggling a little bit. But I've noticed that recently, specifically writing for Medium and my blog have kind of taken lower priority for me right now. And I just wanted to check in because, it is okay for things to, your priorities to change. And right now I just don't really have the mental capacity to keep up with some of those projects, but there is a piece of me that absolutely loves creating. And when I am not creating or I have this empty space, I feel like I'm missing out on things. And so when I do have the space to work on my projects, I've been kind of trying some new things. So I've tried to work on some of my bigger passion projects. So one of those is finishing my novel. I'm writing the third novel in my Soul series. I've been podcasting, so not only here, but I've also actually started podcasting with my husband, doing commentary on my first book. So actually over on Patreon, so that's patreon.com/Laura Winter, I've been releasing my first book for free. So you can read Soul Forgotten for free. I'll release a new chapter every Tuesday. So this podcast is released on Monday. So tomorrow you'll be able to see a new chapter of Soul Forgotten up on my Patreon. But on Wednesdays, I'm also recording other podcasts to go along with the chapters, and I'm working with my husband to, make that kind of a reality. So when it comes to times of chaos, it sometimes feels like your creative endeavors maybe need to be the first things to go. You don't necessarily have time to sit down and work on your hobbies or things like that. And that's kind of how I've thought at first. But in reality, our creative projects, or basically anything that brings us excitement or peace or calms our mind, those are the things that should be taking center stage in these times of chaos. We turn to creativity because it gives us an escape. It gives us joy. It gives us something to relax into. And I think that's what we need right now. And so when it comes to all these new projects that I've been working on, I have kind of coined a new term called creative experiments. Now, it's not a full-on dive deep into a creative endeavor, but it's more of like little dabbles of creativity that we introduce into our lives. So, think about it as not necessarily needing to be fully immersed in the project, but it's just enough to kind of keep those creative juices flowing. So it's, dipping your toe into a new pool of creativity. For me, it has kind of been podcasting. I had the equipment, I have the skills. And, in the meantime, it only takes me a few minutes to kind of gather my thoughts, use any of my resources that I have around, and then produce these podcasts is actually very easy. And so it's been a really good chance for me to kind of explore a different creative project, keep myself interested. And to be honest, it's not a huge mental drain to sit and talk about creativity, productivity, my book, things like that. So it's kind of a really awesome way to keep that creativity alive, especially when you don't necessarily have the mental capacity to sit down and, maybe write. So, my book progress has kind of slowed a little bit just because, after a full day of work and trying to, come to terms with a different work-life balance, certain things have taken a hit in terms of my creativity. And so I've tried to, kind of turn my focus towards other things and the things that maybe need to take priority right now. So, for example, I've seen my nonfiction writing kind of take a hit. So specifically on my blog, on Medium, where I write as well, because I turned my focus towards, maybe some bigger life events. So I got married on Star Wars Day, and we're trying to move my husband now into my apartment, and we're trying to plan a reception in a time where we're not really sure what's going on. But, those sorts of things needed to take priority, and they've taken up a lot of my mental space, which means that, other things that require my mental attention and full focus have taken a hit in terms of that. So I've struggled to kind of keep up with reading, researching, and writing my articles, but I've also accepted that, right now that's okay. And it's okay to, kind of take a back seat on those things right now. But I also find that there are still pockets of time where maybe I don't have all the time in the world to do all the reading, researching, and writing, but I can do other things in that space. So I've started to use these creative experiments to, start new little projects. So this podcast is a little project that doesn't require a whole lot of work on my end outside of what I'm already doing. So that's been really helpful. And it kind of keeps my attention on some creative things to kind of keep that creative juice flowing still. And, they don't take up a whole lot of extra time, but they still give me the opportunity to practice something new. And to be honest, right now, all of this is really exciting because it's a new thing that I'm trying, and it just keeps my interest a little bit. So obviously you're listening to this podcast, The Creative Life Survival Guide, which is my first podcast that I started, but I've also, been able to use the topics for this podcast to develop into other blogs, or I use it vice versa. So I use a previous blog that I've written and turn it into a podcast. So on the front end, it's, not as much brain work to kind of get this podcast up and going. I already know how to edit audio and host a podcast. So it wasn't a huge stretch, but now I get to talk about things that I actually enjoy on this podcast. And so that's been really fun. The second creative experiment that I've been trying is podcasting commentary for my very first novel. So Soul Forgotten, I release for free over on patreon.com/Laura Winter. And I, kind of wanted to give people a chance to escape. So I posted all the chapters for free. So every Tuesday you'll get a new chapter and you'll be able to read it. But I'm also, kind of trying to make a little bit of money in terms of, I put in a lot of work and I try to do some of these creative experiments. Now, I would do all of this for free, but it's also really helpful to, have a little money in your pocket and be able to kind of maybe work on things that I really want to work on. And writing novels takes time. Writing, all of these articles takes time. Doing these podcasts take time. And so I was kind of hoping to, give people an escape and get all these chapters for free, which they will always be for free. But I'm also offering some really bonus perks for people who sign up to become a patron. So it's a great way for me to share my work, kind of get some support for my creative efforts. And to be honest, it's a lot of fun for me. I get to go back and I get to reread my novel, share the excitement that I have for it, and just kind of relax a little bit. And especially in these chaotic times, that's exactly what we need. And it's been really awesome. It gives me quality time with my husband to sit down and talk about, maybe some of the questions that he had while he was reading. And I'm able to kind of just share that excitement with the world. And that's been a lot of fun. And once again, like these creative experiments, they're not supposed to be a lot of work. And, it's more of just practicing your creative skills and just kind of having fun again. And it's just a great way to spend time and give you just that little mental relaxation that you maybe need at this time. So my challenge to you is to think of some creative experiments you can do. So maybe you can do something with minimal effort, like make some macaroni art again and just kind of have fun and finger paint, or use things around the house and make different kinds of art, start a blog, start writing a blog. Maybe that's something you want to do too. But anything that you think you could really benefit from in terms of, starting these small creative experiments. I think the possibilities are endless, but I really think that you're going to benefit from it. It's a great way to kind of relax and just kind of keep that creativity alive while you're working in this chaotic time. So it gives you a really nice break, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So I'd love to hear about your creative experiments. Let me know in the comments of this podcast. I really hope that you guys enjoy all of these creative experiments that you try, and who knows, maybe you turn something into something even bigger. So I wish you guys the best of luck, and I will see you next week on the Creative Life Survival Guide. thank you for listening to this episode of the Creative Life Survival Guide. Be sure to subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you choose to listen. To find more information or survival tips for your creative life, head to laura-winter.com.